I was reading a chapter in the book of Ezekiel, and I came across this specific part of the chapter, and it's talking about in 23, the two harlot sisters, and it's talking about Samaria and Jerusalem. And it goes basically on to say in verse 5, it says, Ohala played the harlot, even though she was mine. And as I read that, I thought so interesting. If you know the story of the children of Israel, they were constantly reminded that they were God's chosen special people, that God out of anyone of the whole world could have chose anyone, but he chose them as his own chosen special people that he had great plans for, and he had the promised land ready for them and all of this kind of stuff. We understand that when we hear about the story about the children of Israel. But in that specific verse, when it said they chose the harlot, even though they were mine, it reminded me of us, even to this day, that we are convinced and we know when we read the scriptures that we are his. We know and we have confidence that we are children of God and that I'm an heir, right? We know that. Yet somehow we find ourselves in the place of playing the harlot. In verse 6, it goes on to say, it says, and she lusted for her lovers, the neighboring Assyrians. They were clothed in purple, captains and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding on horses. So she committed her harlotry with them. So it goes on to say, she kept looking at the neighbors saying like, ooh, wow, look at what they have. Look at what they're doing. Look at who they are and the way that they're acting. And even though they should have had that confidence in knowing that they were chosen and special people, chosen by God, they went off and looked at their neighbors and kind of just kept getting caught up in what they were doing. So what they did is instead of realizing they were chosen and that they were his, they went out and kind of portrayed themselves and as the harlot, wanting and doing things that the world was desiring and doing. Now, I was reminded as I was reading we have a kids Bible at home, and I love reading it to my kids. It has awesome pictures in it. It's called the Beginner's Bible. And my kids are constantly asking me, because I'm sitting on the couch reading my Bible, and they want me to read their Bible. So I was reading to them, and as I was reading the 10 Commandments with my son the other day, it just said, don't want what other people have. And I was just reminded in the same exact day that I was reading this scripture from my own Bible study, that we just laying it out plain and easy don't want what other people have. And that is exactly what happens for our human condition. As we look around, it's so easy to want what other people have, the calling that other people have on their lives, the money that other people have, the house that other people have, the car that other people have, the schooling that other people have, the person that other people have. I was reminded one time, my dad told me the story about someone that he knew, before I was even born, and it was a Christian guy, and he knew that God spoke to him that she was going to be his wife, but she married someone else. And he found himself saying like, okay, if God, you told me that, she's going to be my wife, like, is he going to die? And he caught himself in that moment thinking like, here I am as a Christian hoping someone dies so she can become my wife. Maybe I didn't hear the word of the Lord right. But again, we constantly find ourselves wanting what other people have when the Bible is so clear in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not covet. We have to get to that place where we are confident. I'm a child of God, and that's the most important thing. Knowing that God chose me. We are his own special people. We are called. He has a plan for you. He has a purpose for you. And no one else can fulfill that plan or purpose. So instead of going around and playing the harlot, if you will, and trying to look at what other people have and what other people are doing, we need to focus on first, I am a child of God, and that's so amazing knowing that. And second of all, God, what is your call that you have for my life? Because I don't want to try to walk in someone else's call because it's not going to fit. It's like taking two puzzle pieces and trying to force them together when it's so obvious that the fit is not perfect. So it's really important for us to get that confidence and be secure in knowing that God has chosen us, and there's nothing greater than that. It says many are called, but few are chosen. God has chosen us. There's nothing greater than that. And he's chosen a plan for each and every one of us to fulfill, that we can stop looking around at what other people have and get back to the basics. Don't want what other people have. And again, in Bible terms, thou shalt not covet. So just look at your heart, see what you have going on in your heart, and say, God, am I confident in what you have for my life, or am I constantly looking around at what other people have? And if so, it's always good to do a heart check.